I have always loved conspiracy theories, always been extremely interested in them and wanting to learn more about them. I love watching TV shows that cover all kinds of conspiracy theories from all over the world. Some of my favorite conspiracy theories: JFK assassination, Hitler's death, the moon landing, Scientology, FEMA rail cars, and the Denver International Airport. Join me as we look into these conspiracies and form our own opinions, try to debunk them, or maybe even prove that they are real. This is Conspiracies with Pappy. Welcome to the first ever Conspiracies with Pappy. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Pappy. That's right. So I'm hoping that overall with this show, we can cover all kinds of different conspiracies and maybe even come back to them later on with some guest interviews and, people that know more about that particular conspiracy theory that's in place. I'm actually working on a couple interviews right now to try to get into place for this one. But for episode 1 of Conspiracies with Pappy, we are going to be covering the Denver International Airport. Now, recently, I watched American Unearthed, and the show was talking about the Denver International Airport, also known as DIA, and the conspiracy surrounding it. I was hooked on this conspiracy immediately as soon as watching that show and began researching it. And there are some seriously crazy theories and evidence and proof of these theories around the airport. Now, there's been several other conspiracy theory shows that have covered it, such as Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory and several others. And they all bring in different points, but at the same time, the evidence is just right there and clear. And there's no doubt that there's something strange going on. So I'm going to spend time with you over this next little bit and go over there's a whole lot more than what I've got. And I can go days, apparently, doing this particular topic. So I've got to try to narrow it down. Now, I might add more episodes, part 2, part 3, as we go on. But let's get right down to it, okay? So DIA, which you'll hear when I say DIA, I'm referring to the airport. DIA opened in 1995. It is the largest airport in the United States. It sits at 53 square miles. Now, that's about 33,920 acres. It's 2 times the size of Manhattan. It also has fewer runways than the airport it replaced, which was much smaller. And most of the land in that 53 square miles is unused at the time. It also has fewer gates inside the airport for loading passengers. It was also built in a very high wind area that causes a lot of flight delays. Now, Stapleton, the airport DIA replaced, did not have these issues. So I think it's weird that the airport was even built to begin with. But when there was a fully functional airport close to downtown Denver. But DIA sits 25 miles away from Denver. There's also a 10-mile 4-lane highway out of this airport that apparently there's nothing around. So it's really weird that they would build an airport so far away from a big city when there was a fully functional one to begin with. Now, there's a lot of conspiracy that this land was being used for other things long before the airport was built. And the airport is just the secret to keep it even more secret. Okay? But even though, where DIA was built, the area is basically flat. The expense and the time was taken to extensively lower some of the areas and raise some of the areas. They moved over 110 million cubic yards of earth. Okay, now, it's hard to describe 110 million cubic yards of dirt, okay? So that's about 1/3 of the amount of earth they moved when they dug the Panama Canal. And now you know the Panama Canal is huge. So you take that and you split it into threes. 1/3 of that is how much dirt they moved to create DIA. The airport has a fiber optic communications core that's made of 5,300 miles of cable. That's longer than the Nile River, and the Nile River is only 4,132 miles long. It also has 11,365 miles of copper cable communications networks inside. So why would it need, if it's a smaller airport, why does it need that much? Now, I'm pretty sure that much fiber optic and copper wiring is not just on the upside. There's a whole underworld here. Now, what's really crazy about this is I know airports need to have a lot of fuel because they got flights coming in and out, okay? The fueling system at this place can pump 1,000 gallons of jet fuel per minute through a 28-mile network of pipes. And then there are 6 fuel hold tanks that each hold 2.73 million gallons of jet fuel. So on an average of fuel needing to be used, this would be somewhere in the no one will ever need this much fuel ever. Even Phoenix International Airport, which is one of the busiest in the United States, doesn't use that much fuel. It's crazy. Now, the entire roof of DIA is made of 15 acres of teflon coated woven fiberglass. The same material is on the inside layer as well. The material reflects 90% of the sunlight. It does not conduct heat. So you can't see into the place with radar or see heat signatures. So I find that really interesting. Now, I'm wondering, is this for some type of military defense? Could be. The entire airport is surrounded by a barbed wire guard fence. The barbed wire, though, is angled inwards to keep people in, like a giant prison, not outwards like other airports. Now, in the security industry where I'm from, I see a lot of barbed wire fences, and I honestly have never seen a barbed wire fence with a barbed wire in towards the property. It's always out towards the property so that it's harder to climb over and to keep people out. So that's really interesting. Now, when building the airport, it was $2 billion over budget. Yes, $2 billion with a B. It also went over 16 months over scheduled. Now, I want to know who said, yeah, here's extra $2 billion. Go ahead and keep working on this project. And then what's really interesting is no one really knows who all the investors were in this project. And this project was totally funded by investors. Now, when they first began building the airport, the very first 5 buildings were said to have been built in the wrong place. And instead of tearing down these buildings like you would normally do, they ordered them to be buried. Now, these buildings are said to be about 150 feet tall, which can be 13 stories. One of the buildings is said to be 78 feet, 7 stories, and one is said to be 126 feet tall, 11 stories. So no wonder they had to move 110 million cubic feet of earth. It's said by theorists that these are bunkers underneath and living quarters. These buildings are said to also connect to the underground tunnel system that's in place. Now, there's also, according to some people that have worked on the project, that there's a 40-foot diameter shaft that was off limits to work crews that was near where these buildings are. It was said to be there when the project started, so it was already there. So that means that there was something underground already. But we don't know because there was no one foreman or project manager over the entire project, but rather several independent contractors working on bits and pieces of the airport, so no one person knew the overall scope of the project. It was said that companies were let go and new companies brought in to keep areas secret, and that they had no idea what the previous company had worked on. Plus, none of the work crews from different companies were allowed to associate and talk with other companies in the work crews. They were all kept separate. The runways on this property too, which is really, really interesting, and you can look at this on Google Earth. If you look from above, an aerial picture, they form a swastika. Okay, now we all know the swastika is known for the Nazi regime of Hitler during World War II. It's also been associated with the symbol for the NWO, the New World Order. So, buried buildings, swastika runways. Now, it's not a coincidence, I believe, that it was actually drawn out and laid out as a swastika, because when you look at how much land is around there, they could have easily redrawn these runways to be, I guess you could say, a less evil pattern. But does that swastika symbolize something? Could be. And there's a lot of theories surrounding that. There's also some really, really very creepy and disturbing murals and art throughout the whole airport that some say tell all the facts and prove the evidence behind these theories. So we're going to start off with the horse statue. Okay. This is also known as Blucifer. Okay. So starting outside, you've got a 32-foot tall statue of a giant blue horse with bulging veins, fiery red glowing eyes. The locals call it Blucifer. Okay, now 32-foot tall statue. This thing weighs 9,000 pounds. Bright blue, and if you look at pictures of it, it's creepy as hell. Okay, what's even creepier, okay, about this statue? Now, the statue's official name, according to the airport authorities, and its sculptor is called Blue Mustang. The creepy thing about Blue Mustang is it killed its sculptor. That's right. The statue killed its sculptor. Okay. The statue fell on him in his studio. And at the time it killed him, he was painting the head of the horse. And the head fell off, falling on him and severing an artery in his leg. Even though the statue killed him, his staff finished the statue. And they had it placed at the airport. Another interesting fact about the statue is it was commissioned in 1993, but it wasn't actually installed for 15 years. And they said the delay was largely due to legal issues, airport scares, and an investigation into the sculptor's death. The sculptor was paid a total of $650,100 for the statue. Now, there's a lot of questions as to why do these eyes glow bright red? Well, the sculptor, he claimed that he did the eyes red and glowing as a tribute to his father's neon shop where he was employed as a youth. But theorists, they say that the red eyes are a signal for something. One theory that I've heard is that the eyes are a landmark to guide the chosen people for this secret world to the right location. I think, okay, this is my theory. Pappy is usually right, just saying. Okay, but my theory is I think that the eyes will change color to indicate something. Maybe when whatever plan the secret underworld is built for, when the plan is put into action, it will change colors or it will blink or be like a Morse code, or definitely an indicator letting people know where to go and when to go. Whether or not, though, even if it's not a signal, it's extremely creepy. So you might want to check that out. There's all kinds of pictures of it on the internet. You can search through Google, and I'm telling you, every time I look at it, I mean, it's the stuff that nightmares are made out of. I mean, I think this should be more of a scare for kids than Momo is. I'm just saying. Now, was the sculptor's death an accident? I don't think so. My theory is, I think that he knew too much about the plans for the horse and the airport, and he had to be silenced to keep what he knew from coming out. Now, there's also a theory that the horse represents the fourth horseman from the Bible, known as the pale horse of the apocalypse. So that would be Revelation 6, 7, and 8. And it says in that scripture, "And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and he followed with him," or hell followed with him, "and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of earth." So you've got to admit that that's pretty creepy. Now, there's a lot of theory that the New World Order that I mentioned earlier, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more, there's a lot of theory that they are going to enact the apocalypse. So is this a sign of that? Plus, there's a piece in there that I want you to remember for me. It says, "to kill with sword." Okay, to kill with sword. Remember that, because I'm going to bring that up again. Now, there's also a dedication marker inside. Now, the dedication marker, or there's actually several. There's a dedication marker and plaques all over the airport. Okay, but what's interesting about this dedication marker is, first, there are several names on the marker listing who funded the airport, but there's only just a few people on there. But then the most interesting name of it all, the New World Order Commission. Who the heck are these guys? If you research business records and the internet, there is no such thing as the New World Order Commission. There's no entity or group, or at least no legal one. Now, the New World Order that we've heard about in the past, and I'll talk about them a little bit more in a bit, is it possible that they're a part of it? Now, airport officials, they state that it was not supposed to read New World Commission, Airport Commission. It was supposed to say New World Airport. So, if there was and I'm quoting my little fingers, so-called error, wouldn't the airport have the maker of this dedication marker redo it and correct the errors? I would think so, especially since they're spending $4.18 billion to build this thing. Absolutely crazy. Now, when you look at the picture of it, the Freemasons, are they involved in this project somehow? Because there are Freemason symbols all over the marker and throughout the whole airport. You've got the compass and the square in the middle of the plaque, which is obviously known as a symbol of the Freemasons. There are also 2 Grand Lodges of Freemasonry in Colorado, and it has the name of 2 Grand Masters on it. So obviously somewhere, somehow, in this scenario of this marker, the Freemasons are involved somehow. But no one knows how, because none of the lodges in Colorado will tell anybody exactly why their names are on there and why some symbols are popping up throughout the airport. Now, the date on the marker is interesting. The date listed on the marker is March 19th, 1994. Now, if you take the numbers, okay, not the March part, but the 1994, and you add them up, you get 33. So you got 1 plus 9 plus 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 4. That equals 33. What's significant about the number 33 is it's said to be the highest level of Freemasonry you can achieve. So is that a coincidence that the dedication was on that day? Because Freemasons are known for using a lot of numbers to create codes and secret words and stuff like that. So obviously, this is even more proof that the Freemasons are something going on. Now, Freemasonry is very real but secret fraternal society if you don't know who they are or haven't heard of them, and is claimed to be the largest fraternal society in the world and the oldest. And then there have been many, many, many powerful people that have been linked to the organization throughout the years. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Jesse Jackson, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Oscar Wilde, Andrew Jackson, John Wayne, Theodore Roosevelt, Harry Houdini, Charles Lindbergh, Gerald Ford, many other presidents. There's been many other political figures, people throughout the world in other countries as well, public figures, celebrities. So it's not just U.S. This is a worldwide organization. So obviously there's been some very powerful people that are involved. Now, how many of powerful people that are involved in Freemasonry at the time of the dedication are involved back from 1994? Nobody knows because nobody will talk. Now, many believe the name New World Order New World Order Airport Commission, refers to the New World Order, an organization that supported Nazi group and the Third Reich, which surfaced during World War II. The New World Order is said to be an unholy alliance. Sorry about that. My computer's making sounds. It's said to be an unholy alliance, an invisible government with the only one goal on its agenda: to control all of the nation's earth. In 1906, President Truman acknowledged this group to the public. It is also said that the organization not only backed Nazis, but allies during World War II as well, because it didn't really matter to the New World Order who won the war. They were okay with sides killing each other, because it's said that the New World Order will unleash a massive genocide to reduce the population to 1 to 2 billion people. So they want to reduce overall population of the earth so that it's more manageable on their end. I mean, I could go on and on about the NWO, the New World Order, and I can even create a whole show, which I probably will do, on the New World Order. But they say that they want one government worldwide, one monetary money value worldwide, one language worldwide, one law worldwide, one person running the whole world. So I think that's kind of creepy. Now, if you kind of remember the movie, Left Behind, the Antichrist took over, and that was supposed to create a new world order. So we know that it's been known, but we don't know who these people are. We hear about them, and there's evidence about them, but who are they really? Now, the theorists say that DIA, Denver International Airport, is where the New World Order is going to launch its attack and is the base for their organization. So this is where the New World Order, or whoever is involved, is supposed to meet. So that could explain 5 huge buildings underground. that could explain secret tunnels underground, which we're going to talk about. I mean, they say that there's enough tunnels underground to hold a civilization of millions of people. Okay, now that marker that we were talking about earlier, it actually sits as a capstone with a time capsule underneath that's said to be opened March 19th, 2094. Now, nobody really knows what's in the time capsule other than whoever put the stuff in the time capsule, because there were never any photographs of it, and there was never any party or some type of event putting the stuff in like most places do for time capsules. But airport officials, they claim that the capsule has the following stuff inside: Indian prayer baskets representing the Native American culture. It's got photos of Coors Field where the Rockies play and an autographed opening day ball. Black Hawk casino tokens, a piece of the airport roof, a Stapleton International Airport history book, which is the airport the DIA replaced, newspaper articles about DIA's opening day, coins from the Devon Mint, Jeepson flight charts, Mayor Wellington Webb's sneakers, photos of Mayor Webb and the Pope during World Youth Day in Denver. Now, would these items be important in any way in 100 years? Do they have some significant historical value or tell a lot about history? I highly doubt it. I really don't think so. And the fact that there were no pictures taken for record keeping, I find it extremely interesting. Now, there's a lot of theory that the plaque that sits above that marker, which describes it, is actually some type of keypad. So is this a keypad and something that allows the underworld of the airport to open up when the time is right? It could be. I don't know. I mean, I personally am going to go out to this airport and spend a day out there and record as much as I can, photograph as much as I can, and try to see if I can get anybody to come up to me and ask me why I'm looking so much into the airport. Now, I'm just waiting for the men in black to come banging on my door, or some weird, people that are from Denver come knocking on my door because of this show. So now just remember, Pappy, Second Amendment right, I believe in it. That's all I'm going to say. Now, there's murals inside. Now, you may have seen these or heard about these, and I'm telling you, they are really, really, really creepy, graphic, and disturbing. Now, inside, there's 2 large murals, a total of 4 parts. Okay, the artist Leo Tanguma, he's a Chicano artist and activist who has created murals all over the country. Leo states that he was given a list of what he was supposed to incorporate into the paintings of each of the murals by the commission. It's been reported that some of the murals now have been removed to appease travelers because they said they were scaring the travelers. I won't have 100% clarification on this until I get to visit the site, which I plan to do this year. It is said that half of each of the murals, so there's 2 large murals, each one having 2 parts. It's said that half of each of these murals all of a sudden were painted over with no explanation, and then their plaques were removed. Tanguma, the artist, stated he didn't have anything to do with wiping out parts of the murals and didn't know about it, that he was just hired to paint what was given to him in the list. And it wouldn't even make sense that he would be okay with it, because the artist wouldn't spend so much time and effort painting these massive murals to have half of it destroyed. So are they covering up things because people are understanding what they're paintings and murals are actually telling, because I think these are instructions of somehow for the appropriate chosen. I'm going to use the word chosen as the people that are involved, the chosen group. Okay, so the first mural, it's called "The Children Dream of Peace." Now, the airport's description on the plaque says, "The children of the world dream of peace," is a powerful mural expressing the artist's desire to abolish violence in society. One part exhibits the tragedy and devastation of war and its impact on humanity. The mural then moves to images of smiling children from around the world celebrating peace prevailing over war. Now remember, this isn't Tanguma. Sorry. Tanguma, the artist. Okay, I'm just going to call him the artist. The artist said he was told what to paint. So how is this his vision, his desire to abolish, his expression? So I think, obviously, this is just written so that it seems like airport had nothing to do with it. It's all the artist's image in his head. So, of course, you're not going to say, yeah, that's what we wanted because we're trying to, cover something up. Now, what's interesting is these two paintings that are up today are two of the four that remain. And again, Tanguma was told what to paint. So theoretically, again, not his vision. Are these murals showing what the Illuminati are planning for global genocide and the New World Order? Now, we're going to be talking about the Illuminati too, because they're a big group that's apparently involved with this as well. When you look at the symbols and art in the pictures, I believe it sure does show that there's something to be told. So the first half. Okay, now, again, the best way to do this, Google Denver International Airport murals. Okay, go to Google Images, select size, and get the biggest ones you can so that you could see everything. Because a lot of the pictures are small. And what's really interesting is a lot of the links are broken. Very interesting. You can't even access a lot of them when you click the picture. And if some of them are actually blurry, which I find interesting as well. Now, the first half of this mural has a very large military-looking person, very Nazi-looking with his uniform. He has a gas mask on, holding an AK-47 rifle with a bayonet in its left hand. Now, I'm not going to say him or her. I'm just going to say it's because you don't know. It's got a mask on. And a sword in its right hand. The sword is stabbing the white dove in the picture. Now, we know white doves are known as the symbols of peace. The emblem on his hat is an eagle with its wings spread. And it's very close to looking like the metal emblems that were worn on Nazi uniforms. There is a wisp of air that circles from the military person over the people, which looks like a rainbow because it's supposed to connect to the other picture. But it's said that that is indicating a biological attack. Now, the way it starts out, before it goes into the colors, and it's coming from where the gas mask is, I can believe that. There is a line of weeping women holding dead babies that stretches into the horizon. There are 3 children lying down on a pile of bricks wrapped in blankets at the foot of this soldier. They appear to be sleeping, and one is holding a teddy bear as to show the innocence of children. But it's not known if these children are sleeping or if they too are dead. In the right corner, there's a small piece of paper, which is part of an actual poem written by a child who was interned and died in a Nazi concentration camp. In that poem, I'm going to read to you. Okay? I once was a little child who longed for other worlds. But I am no more of a child, for I have known fear. I have learned to hate. How tragic, then, is youth, which lives with enemies, with gallows ropes. Yet, I still believe I only sleep today, that I'll wake up a child again and start to laugh and play. That was written by a 14-year-old boy, Hama Hirschenberg. Died December 18th, 1943 in the Auschwitz concentration camp. And I hope I said that right. Auschwitz, Auschwitz. My thought on this mural is it shows the genocide of the world to lower the population for the New World Order. Now, does the poem tell us, by them putting it there, that we will be heading to concentration camps when everything starts? Now, it is said that these underground tunnels might be associated with that. And I'll explain that later on why. Now, the second half of this mural shows two doves perched on the dead body of the gas mask wearing military person. Children all over the world smiling and happy, turning in swords wrapped in the flags of their countries. And there is a German boy beating the swords into a plowshare. Now, remember the fourth horseman of the apocalypse I talked about earlier. It said to kill with sword. Now, this picture, the only weapons there are swords. So I find that interesting. And it's clear that the little boy is German because you could see the clothing of all the different countries and you could tell where they're from based on that. And what's weird is the U.S. child, the United States child, is in a Boy Scout uniform. So that's really interesting. Now, there's a lot of controversy that there's an Asian boy in this picture that is only one looking completely different direction than everybody else, but like not paying attention to this. So I'm not sure how that is involved, but it's interesting that it's in one of the murals as well that was painted over, which I'll talk about. Now, the German boy is beating the swords into a plowshare. Now, the plowshare is like a big thing that ironsmiths and metal workers use to smash metal when it's hot and destroy metal, or form swords and whatnot. Okay. Now, what's interesting I find is the strong person in the first mural. It appears to be a Nazi Germany or German military person. The second picture, that military person is dead, but there's a German boy that everybody's bringing the swords to, and he is the one destroying. So is he saying that we are your saviors, we are the protectors, we are the rulers? It's possible. Now, the children in the upper area of the painting are holding a very large banner that in different languages says peace. So are these considered the children of the New World Order? And are they dissolving all of the countries under one world order and surrendering all weapons, which we believe is what the New World Order is going to force us to do? And those children in the picture are what I call the chosen. Now, mural 2, was called In Peace and Harmony with Nature. Now, we know a lot about this because people were able to get pictures and start investigating this as soon as it went up. And it's apparently just recently that these other ones have been painted over. Okay, now this is a mural, again, that's said to have been painted over. So the first half shows children crying and scared, a city burning in the background, and the burning of the forest, a dead turtle wrapped in a net, a dead buffalo, what appears to be a cheetah, and several other animals. Then there's other animals that are in there, such as a penguin, a parrot, and another bird in glass cases. These animals are apparently said to be extinct. There's a child holding a Mayan tablet that is carved on stone, referencing the Mayan end of the world in 2012. Now, what's interesting about that little piece is Tanguma, the artist himself, is of Mayan descent. There's also a dead humpback whale in the back. There are 3 caskets with 3 different women inside, dead. The casket on the left is of a Jewish girl. The casket in the center is a Native American woman. The casket on the right is a black woman. Now, theorists claim this part of the mural relates to a ritual connected to the Skull and Bones Club. It's said that the women represent the 3 groups that the Skull and Bones Club would like to see dead. Now, a quick bit of info on the Skull and Bones Club, because again, that's another group that deserves its own show. Okay, maybe even 2, because there's so much conspiracy shrouding this. The Skull and Bones Club was founded in 1833 at Yale University by General William Huntington Russell and Alphonso Taft, who happened to be the father of President William Taft that was elected later on. It's considered not only a very secretive order, but a very powerful one as well. And there's been very many powerful people and families that have been said to have been tied to this organization. But what's interesting is they've all been tied to the Freemasons. So some of these powerful families, the Phelps family, the Rockefeller family, the Pillsbury family, the Bush family with George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush, and then many from other families that held very important and powerful positions in our government. So my thought on this particular picture is the burning of the city shows that the genocide has been accomplished and that mass extinction is happening. Now the second half, and this is an interesting one. In the middle, there's a man that looks like Jesus with a glowing halo, with a weird-looking glowing plant that looks like no plant we have on Earth, and there's a dove inside it. Children are running to Jesus and this plant. They appear to be ecstatic and happy. There are animals, some that were in the first mural that appeared to be dead and to be alive and well, living in peace. The feet of some of the children don't even touch the earth or the ground. They appear to be floating in the air. The boy with the hammer smashing swords appears to be in this picture again, polished, cleaned up nicely, and there are labels on his jacket, and one of them closely matches the civil defenses symbol for radiation. There's a girl with a Maltese cross on her shawl. There's a double red face in the upper left at the top in the clouds, which is weird. There's a group of leopard, or cheetahs, which there was a dead one in the last one, but now there's a group of them, a mother and 2 cubs. Now the mother looks normal, but if you look closely at the 2 cubs' faces, they have faces of human children. Then there's a boy that is wearing what looks like a prison uniform worn by people in German concentration camps. Yet all of the other people in this picture have vibrant and colorful outfits. All kinds of different plants are throughout this picture, which some theorists say are poisonous plants. So my thought is this image here is telling us the New World Order is now God. Everybody flocks to the New World Order, and they will think that the New World Order, NWO, is now the savior of humanity and the world. Very interesting. Now, I had mentioned the Illuminati earlier. Now, some theorists claim that the airport is the headquarters for the Illuminati, which is underneath the airport. Now, the Illuminati are said to be founded in 1776 and is an Enlightenment-era secret society. Their goal is said to be to oppose religious influence over public life and abuses of state power. They have alleged to conspire to control world affairs by masterminding events, planting agents in government positions and corporations in order to gain political power and influence to establish a new world order. It's also said the Illuminati have infiltrated the Freemasons and also are associated with the Skull and Bones Order. So that could explain why we have Freemasonry, Illuminati, and Skull and Bones Order information and clues throughout the whole, the pictures and throughout the airport. This, again, Illuminati is another one of those organizations that needs its own show. And so that I don't keep this show going on and on for hours, I'll talk about the Illuminati some other day. But there's also some very interesting pieces of art on the floor throughout the airport. One of the most talked about is a mining cart with the letters AU and AG on it. Now, in the periodic table, AU is a symbol for gold and AG is a symbol for silver. But theorists say that AU-AG refers to the deadly strain of hepatitis known as Australia antigen, which was discovered by Brock Samuel Blumberg. The Australian antigen is a viral hepatitis. Blumberg is also rumored to be one of the financial backers of the airport. His name is not on the marker, but he is claimed to be one of the backers. He also won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1976 for his work on hepatitis B. What's odd, though, is this particular floor art, which is like a copper inlay on the ground, sits in front of the Doomsday mural where the military person is stabbing the dove in what I believe appears to be an airborne attack, a biological attack. Very interesting. So does this indicate and prove that we'll be facing a biological attack? Theorists believe that antigen will be weaponized and used to kill everyone except those in the underground bunkers and tunnels of the airport, which, again, I'll be talking about in a minute. Now, airport authorities claim that the cart is to represent the strong gold and silver history that Colorado has. Now, my thought is, I find it odd it's associated with the Australia antigen. And it's placed right in front of the mural, showing the military person, dead people, destroyed buildings, and what I believe that wisp of air and rainbow are, I believe they are representing an airborne biochemical attack. Now remember, the Australia antigen is viral, so it can become an airborne attack. Now there's some other art on the floor that I find interesting, with brass inlays of extinct animals that have left fossils in the area, where some were found while digging up in the area of the airport. And then some have Native American spiritual references, but no plaques or signage explain any of the inlays. So, for instance, there's one that says Mount Blanca, MT Blanca. Now, this has been said to where the Knights Templar famously signed their charter, which mentions they'd gather to form a new world order. The mountain is also one of the 4 sacred mountains of the Navajo Nation. In the Navajo language, it's called, I'm going to butcher this, Sisanaji, Sisnaajini, Sisanaji, which means dawn or white shell. It's spelled out in English and the Navajo language 2 times throughout the airport, once in English and once in Navajo. Why would they need to repeat it like that? That's the only of the languages that is deciphered Navajo and English. But then why do they not mention the other 3 sacred mountains? Then we have Cochetopa, Cochetopa. Now, part of the conspiracy is I don't know how to say these words. That's probably a conspiracy. No, I'm just saying. Cochetopa means past the buffalo and Ute. I'm not sure what that has any relation to do with Colorado. And then there's some really interesting one, and there's no way to say it. So it's 3 words. First word is spelled DTIZ. Second word is spelled DIT. Third word is spelled GAII. Now, it's said to be of an alien form. It's also said to be from the so-called lizard people that are headquartered there. And that's a whole nother show on its own. But the lizard people, okay, are supposedly human that look like lizards. But when you break down this language, okay, one theorist, he says it comes from the language of Dracos. And he's translated it. And he claims it predicts death and destruction for the human race at the hands of shape-shifting reptilian overlords that some say control and run the airport. So the phrase apparently means, and I'm going to break it down, the D equals death. DD is death to fire. IT, I am a flyer. T equals the bird of death, Draco. Z is master. G is the gift, sacrifice for power. That would be us, the human race. A stands for ancestral gods of the air and water. And II equals a black hole. So when you take all that mumbo jumbo and you put it together, this is what they say it says. The reptilians, who some say walk among us with the outward appearance of humans, are waiting the coming of the one they call the Deathifier, the ancient being Draco, who will turn the airport into a black hole of death, thus beginning the great feast of humans. I know it sounds weird, but hey, you know what? With all the other stuff going on there, I'm not saying it's not real. It's just odd, just like everything else is about this place. Now, there's a graduate student in Native American Studies that says that DTIZ in native language equals the mountain. DIT is GAII is white. So it's this person claims that it's called the White Mountain. Now remember, we just had the Mount Blanca, which Sinzanji means dawn or white. Now I probably messed it up, Sinzanji. But anyway, so we have the white shell. Now we have the White Mountain. Now there's this next 3 words. Besh dit gai. MESHDIT GAII. In Navajo, that means white metal. Mainly found in asteroids. And is one of the rarest elements on Earth. Now, another word in there, and there's a couple more that were coming, but it gets harder to say. I'm going to say this is called Ninenii, Nishi, Ninenii is the first word, Niicie. Ancient Navajo, that means Tallow River, TALLOW, Tallow River. Now, the Tallow River is actually a short distance from the airport, and if you look at it on Google Earth, there are 3 large reservoirs of water and thousands of acres of crops. Now, it's extremely interesting. Is this part of the survival plan, this particular area? Now, it's also reported that tunnels go that far. Now, the next word, Baraksama, BRAAKSMA. This is the last name of the fellow known for deciphering extremely high prime numbers. More importantly, it's the last name of a developer who specializes in such things as airports. So I'm not sure why his name is there, but maybe he had something to do with the building of the airport. And it could be because Freemasons use numbers, the Illuminati use numbers, NWO uses numbers. Maybe that's an indicator of some sort, and that's where they find their code. Is the code all in prime numbers? I'm not sure. And then I'm pretty sure I'm going to butcher this last name, and I apologize for anybody with this last name. Villarreal, Villarreal. Villarreal. Okay, it's a very common last name. But the only sinister reference is a construction worker from the airport that died at the airport at the age of 33 while it was being built. Now, there's an author of a book called The Fifth Horseman, Jose Villarreal. He has written articles on Chicano art, which might link him to the artists that created the murals, Tanguma. So some really interesting words, but nobody really knows exactly what they are because there's no definition like there is for all the. There's other art pictures throughout the whole facility, and there's always something telling you what it's about in their eyes, but nothing about any of this anywhere. Now, near the baggage claim, and this is kind of interesting, overwatching the area, there's a gargoyle. Well, actually, both baggage claims, international flights and domestic flights. There's a gargoyle with his hands on his cheeks in an open suitcase overwatching those areas. Now, when the pieces were installed, the airport was still empty, so we're not sure, who installed it. But they say that the person that claims to be the creator of the gargoyles says they are meant to be protectors of people claiming their luggage. There's another piece of artwork in there, and it's a big blown-up photograph. And it looks like a family vacation picture with a woman named Gail standing next to a meteorite. What makes it odd is one of the lights constantly blurs out her face. She is standing next to a sign that reads, "Meteorite found near Canyon Diablo, weight 535 pounds. So is this picture trying to tell us something about Canyon Diablo? Diablo? But they say that no matter where you stand, you can't see Gail's face. Another interesting ideal about the airport. Staff members have reported strange happenings over the years since the airport's construction. They include bizarre noises and whispers of an on-site morgue that is underground. Now, it's unheard of for an airport to actually have a morgue because bodies are usually transported in and then taken straight out. Or if they're transported in, they're put straight on the airplane and taken out. Now, earlier I mentioned underground tunnels. Now, when the airport was opened, it housed what they called a state-of-the-art automated baggage system. But the system never worked correctly and was never fixed, so they finally shut it down. Airport officials claim it was due to the high cost to repair it. Now, the thing already cost $192 million to build, but yet they didn't maintain it. There's said to be over 19 miles of conveyor belt track, luggage transport cars, and roads in these underground tunnels. And it says that these tunnels are big enough to drive trucks through them. Theorists claim that this is a way to cover the existence of the underground tunnels. It's also said that these underground areas are New World Order command bunkers, fallout shelters for the so-called global elite, and possibly a FEMA concentration camp. Some of these tunnels are said to go 8 levels deep, a 4.5 square mile underground city, which is 2,880 acres, and an 88.5 square mile base underneath the airport. So that would be a total of 56,640 acres worth of underground tunnels, buildings, floors, levels, What's interesting about these tunnels, okay, the longer tunnels, is they said they are concrete and have a sprinkler system running through it. Why would they need sprinklers for a tunnel that is 100% concrete? Now, earlier in one of the murals, it talked about concentration camps. In concentration camps, a lot of times they use gas to kill people. Now, theorists claim that these sprinkler systems are going to be used to gas to depopulate the world. I know it sounds strange, but FEMA's had some really interesting conspiracies on their own, which I actually am writing a show on some FEMA stuff. So I'm just waiting for them to come knocking on my door now. Let's see here. There's also an underground train tunnel to connect you from the terminals, but this tunnel also shows weird art, such as drawings of aliens and some weird words. But it doesn't connect anywhere to where these underground baggage areas. Now, they have done tours of these underground baggage areas for conspiracy theorists, but then there's other doors throughout the facility that are locked. For instance, tornado shelters. Now, most places I've ever gone that has a tornado shelter, you could get into it. Okay, but the odd thing is these things are locked. So if a tornado was to hit really quick, which sometimes they come extremely fast, how would these people get to safety fast? They don't have time to wait for somebody to come run and unlock the doors. But what's weird is these are also near the murals, near some of the art, some of the inlays on the ground. So are these the doors that get down to those tunnels? Is that marker with that plaque that comes up that's claimed to be, some type of way to open up the stuff? Is it a keypad? Is that what unlocks these doors? It's a good question. Now, it's said also that a lot of the elite and powerful people, the Obamas and the Queen of England, are buying up land near the airport. Now, are they buying up this land so they could be close to the airport should the New World Order start their plan? They can get to cover because they're part of that global elite? I have no idea. Now, in November 2017, and I'm probably going to butcher this town's name, I'm sorry, Lochbuie, Lochbuie, was shaken by a massive boom originating close to DIA. Many people said that it was so intense that it shook their homes, causing them items to fall off their walls. But that there was no registered earthquake reported that day. And nearby Buckley Air Force Base says they were done with all drills at the time. Now, theorists claim that this is evidence that DIA is expanding the underground tunnels, which they claim there is still construction to this day going on around the airport. In 2007, 14 commercial aircraft reported spontaneously shattered windshields as the report of an electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, took place. NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, they reported it was sand-like debris, but they've never been really able to identify exactly what caused the damages. A total of 22 front and side windshields were removed from affected planes, and they said that this took place over 1.5 hours. Now, there are people that claim to feel weird energy feelings in certain areas of the airport. So is there some electromagnetic field of some sort underneath that's powering this underground city? Possible. There's one more conspiracy theory involving DIA that I want to cover, and that is Phil Schneider. Okay, now I've looked a lot into Phil Schneider, and I YouTubed him, and this guy's got some really interesting stuff. And he was a whistleblower that worked during the construction of DIA. He's a former government employee of 17 years that was a geologist, aerospace engineer, and structural engineer. He's said to have built underground bases for the military some over 1 mile underground. After he ended his career with the government, there are claims that there were 13 attempts on his life. He used to go around talking about Denver International Airport and the buildings that he built underneath and the structures and the infrastructure he built underneath and how far down they went. Okay. He was found dead January 17th, 1996, and his death was ruled a suicide. But friends and family say that he was murdered, that he wasn't depressed, he wasn't upset, that he was actually proud that he was going around telling people what he knew about these underground facilities. Did he know too much about it? Quite possibly be. So, to cap it all off, do I think that there's something shady going on at DIA? Yes, I do. It just all seems too odd. The dedication marker and the symbols, the name New World Order Commission, the swastika, the information that you could find in the murals, underground tunnels, buried buildings. It's just all too much. Now, do I think that the horse sculpture's death was an accident? No, I don't. I believe he knew too much and he had to be made silent. The illuminating eyes on the horse, I believe, are some type of symbol. And do I believe that there are underground tunnels? I do. I believe that those tunnels have been under construction years before the airport was built, and they are still possibly being constructed. I believe the airport was built on top of this to hide it. What's going on there? I have no idea. But I believe something sinister is going on, and I plan on continuing to investigate this conspiracy as much as I can and possibly bringing out more bits and pieces as I learn more. I also personally plan on going to the airport and looking around to see what I can find. And I will have photographs on my page, which you can find at It's Pappy Hour on Facebook and Ryan is Pappy on YouTube. And I suggest you subscribe to Ryan is Pappy on YouTube so that you don't miss out on any of these footages that I'm going to be doing. Plus, you'll be able to see our new video show called Adventures with Pappy, which will coexist and mix together with Conspiracies with Pappy. But I hope that you found the information about Denver International Airport as interesting as I did, because I honestly, without a doubt, think that there's something possibly military going on, and eventually we're going to know the truth. Join me again next month on Conspiracy with Pappy.